Thank you for being so patient. And for our last session before we break in for lunch, we will be talking about an extremely important topic, which is unlocking the FTA, the free trade agreement between UK and India and beyond. And for this panel, please let us invite Lord Karan Bilimoria, founder of the Cobra Beer, and Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General CII, on the stage, please.
Okay. Here we are. Hi everyone. I'm Karan Bilimoria, and we have here Chandrajit Banerjee. And I think the best thing is for each one of us to just quickly give you a whistle-stop introduction. So CB, as we call Chandrajit, CB, over to you.
Thanks. I'm Chandrajit Banerjee, as was mentioned. Been long associated with UK-India corridor, and presently work for an institution called the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII. I've been with them for 38 years, not revealing my age, but in this particular role since the last 18 years. And it's been a fascinating journey working on this bilateral corridor between UK and India. It's a great journey. We've seen the transformation over the decades as to how it's just been growing from great to greater. So, and with Karan, it's been an interesting journey too, because he has been well involved with us as an institution, as well as with the Indian industry, looking at how we could contribute to deepening the many links that we have between our two countries. Karan.
Thank you, CB. So I'm Karan Bilimoria. I was born in Hyderabad, and my father was in the Indian Army, so I moved around a lot. Went to 7 different schools, went to boarding school, eventually in Uti. One of the schools I went to was the Hyderabad Public School, which seems to have produced a few people like Satya Nadella and Shantanu of Adobe and Ajay Banga of the World Bank and Prem Watsa in Canada, and I don't know how many chief ministers and cabinet ministers. Must be something in the water. And I went to university in Hyderabad, originally to Osmania University, came here to the UK. I qualified as a chartered accountant with EY, with Ernst & Young, and then I went to the other place. I read law at Cambridge, at Sydney Sussex College, and our sister college here at Oxford is St. John's. And then I started Cobra Beer, and I built up this brand from scratch, literally with nothing, £20,000 of student debt, and built up what is today, I'm proud to say, a household name. And I will go so far as to say the most famous Indian brand in the UK, in every corner of the country. So side by side, I got involved in further education, lifelong learning. So I'm an alumnus of 3 business schools, of Cranfield School of Management, London Business School, and the Harvard Business School through executive education. And I've got all these honorary doctorates, and I feel like a complete fraud. So I'm doing a PhD myself at the other place. I'm back at Sydney Sussex College, back at Cambridge, at the Cambridge Judge Business School, the sister to the CII Business School. And I'm halfway through my doctorate, and I'm loving it. It's on leadership. I got involved in Parliament. I've been a member of the House of Lords that was the 3rd youngest when I was appointed 19 years ago. I'm still one of the younger peers. The average age is 72. A lot of wisdom, House of Lords. And then I've got my academic life, where I've been a university chancellor twice of University of West London, Birmingham University for 10 years, which was amazing. And I have 2 fellowships here at Oxford, one here at the CII Business School, and one at Kellogg College. I'm a Bynum Tudor Fellow at Kellogg, where His Majesty the King has got the same fellowship, and has 2 fellowships at Cambridge as well. So my life is academia, entrepreneurship, and Parliament. And UK-India has been a big, big part of my life. From the time I was a student, I went back to India every single year. And I now, for 22 years, have been officially involved in the UK-India relationship. So when we first met, and CB was at the CII, I was appointed the co-chair of the Indo-British Partnership in 2003. And my counterpart was Narayan Mukti, the founder of Infosys. And the first words he said to me, you were probably there in the Locarno room, 2003, the Foreign Office, he said, I've never met a bad Parsi. And his wife, when I met her years later, who worked for the Tatas for many years, she said unprompted, I've never met a Parsi who cheats. So that's nice to hear. Anyway, and then since then, my counterparts have been Sunil Mittal, founder of Airtel, and. And then I founded the UK India Business Council, and now I chair the all-party parliamentary group in Parliament of both houses on India. And I've just taken over as the chair of the International Chamber of Commerce, the ICC, the biggest business organization in the world for the UK. And I've come back from Paris, and within 6 months they've promoted me to the head of Europe. So that's a great position to be in because it's all about trade and arbitration. So there you go. So CD, now tell us about UK India, what you and I have seen for the last 22 years, when it was £5 billion of bilateral trade at that time to where we are today. What a journey.
What a journey indeed. And if you really look at what we were and what we are, so we have, of course, the cultural links and the natural ties between the two countries for centuries. But the way it has evolved is we, of course, recently, the most recent one we showed, if let me count backwards, so to say. The first, of course, one should talk about the free trade agreement, with the way it was entered after rounds and rounds of discussion, but the speed at the end was really fascinating. And I see this to be a complete win-win, so which takes the trajectory to another level altogether with that trade agreement that one has signed up with. And it benefits every type of industry. You covered quite a few industries as we were talking about your journey, and it involves the small and the mid-sized companies and to the high-tech companies. So that's one, which is like what's happened recently, which really talks about the future. Stepping back, you see there are the links which has grown in the fields of education as well as in the fields of healthcare or technology and high tech. Just fascinating, and I think that's when we look at a developed India in a few years to come, and we look at reaching a $30 trillion economy in India. There are those areas which are, as I mentioned, education and healthcare, where one could see phenomenal contributions possible by UK into India. India today has certain efficient structures, both soft and hard, which are extremely pertinent in this corridor. And I'll just take, say, for instance, the digital public infrastructure that we have built up. And that's something which has touched every Indian, the last mile. And that's something which India can give to the world, and which, again, can even benefit in this trade and investment corridor. But there's a lot of tech that can go in. When we are really looking at the healthcare of 1.4 billion people, we're looking at educating 1.4 billion people. We are and using tech, enabling through tech. When we are looking at transforming Indian companies into digital as AI enabled, the type of stuff that can come in from UK and the type of stuff that India can give to the UK are just phenomenal in the opportunities in that space. I'll just go back one step back again. You really see, if you look at the last 1 year, 200 additional. You talked about being in a consulting firm. When we have worked now with another consulting firm to check out as to how Indians are investing into the United Kingdom, 200 plus 200 companies in the last 1 year investing into into United Kingdom. Now that's phenomenal, and you know, see that increment is just so much. The delta is so strong, and we see that happening much more. That both the countries are today easing up in terms of there is much more to do in terms of, and the feedback that we get from each other about how we can be more sort of conducive in terms of our policy ecosystem to enable bilateral investment is super, and those changes would perhaps make it even possible. But I see the links going beyond business, affecting positively our peoples of both the countries, and we see also phenomenal opportunity with an economy like India, which is growing at, we are not happy with 6.5, right? And we want 8% growth, and we want beyond 8%. So the opportunities in India in a crazy world is for UK to tap, and of course it's much easier to do. We loved doing business here, and Indian companies have loved doing business here because it's much more, I would say, attractive than your neighborhood. And lastly, as we move along in this, and some of the sessions that have preceded ours have talked about areas of green sustainability. There are challenges that are emerging in the world. India is not completely, and with a fast growing economy like India, where there are aspirations, the balancing is extremely critical. And I think that's where global collaborations would help, Karan.
Brilliant. So how many of you think that the FTA that we've recently been agreed between the UK and India is good news? Can I just see a show of hands? Yeah, it is. It's great news. And yet the opposition in this country are criticizing it for one part of it, which is to do with the national insurance contributions and 3-year waiver. I mean, that's how that desperate you get when you're trying to criticize something that's actually really good news. And that's a very fair thing in my view, that if you work here for 3 years, and usually they're intercompany transfers, the 20,000 tech IT people who come across, and you're paying national insurance, you don't get anything back. You go back to India, that's not fair. And it's reciprocal. And believe you me, more and more people from this country are going to be working in India as India continues to boom. So overall, I think the free trade agreement is very good. It's the 16th FTA India's ever done. India doesn't do FTAs historically. It's the biggest one India's ever done. From our point of view as well, it's a big comprehensive deal. I was involved when I was president of the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry, our sister CII, with the Australia deal, New Zealand deal, very comprehensive deals. So this is good news as far as I'm concerned. But here's the reality. As things stand, our bilateral trade between UK and India is £42 billion in goods and services. £42 billion. For us, India is only the 11th largest trading partner. I mean, that's ridiculous. India is already the 4th largest economy in the world, soon to be the 3rd largest economy, the 11th largest. It should be one of a handful of largest trading partners. And I'm hoping this free trade agreement will turbocharge the relationship and we'll go from 42 billion to 100 billion. We do 100 billion trade with China at the moment. America is our biggest trading partner as a single country by far. And of course, by the way, how many of you think Brexit was a huge mistake and an act of self-harm for this country? Yeah? Thank you. Somebody take a picture of this. It's what a mistake 9 years ago, that ridiculous vote. And by the way, referenda is the most undemocratic thing in the world. Why? Because democracy needs to be dynamic. India, one of the greatest strengths of India is democracy. And when you talk about investing in India, you talk about South Asia, I always say, why do you want to invest in India? Yeah, 1.4 billion people, largest population in the world, one of the fastest growing major economy in the world, going to be the 3rd largest economy in the world. By 2060, you'll be the largest economy in the world. We're going to invest in India. But on top of that, one of the reasons is it's had a stable democracy throughout. Well, every country around India, without exception, has had instability of some sort or the other over the years and as we speak. So it's a huge strength we should never take for granted, but never have a referendum, by the way. You need elections every 4 or 5 years so people can change their minds and people can realize they've been lied to. Okay, now, CB, if we just move forward beyond the sort of trade area, you mentioned education. Here we are at Oxford, one of the best universities in the world by far. What about the potential between our two countries?
What's the
education?
So yeah, that's one sector that I chose. You see, I'm sort of Somanathan sitting there, a person who has contributed so much into the field of technology. And I choose the field of technology as we talk education because, well, India's contribution has been just phenomenal in terms of tech into education. But I see the usage of tech to educate Indian population, the 1.4 billion which I touched upon earlier, is going to be critical. The opportunity of we have so many Indians coming into UK to study, all right? But if we build collaborative frameworks, it was many years back with another institution, not very far from here, that we had set up a degree. We started working with them to do a CII dash, work, so work manufacturing, Prof. Banerjee. So we had coordinated to give degrees in India on manufacturing between our two institutions. And at that point in time, 20 years back, we were told that we can't do it because we are an institution. Our policy system did not support it. Today we are. We have very recent past. We have 4 of your colleges and universities setting up. They're announcing their investments and starting off colleges in India. Opportunity is huge, and the more you do, the type of expansions that's just possible in setting up in India with joint ventures or in collaboration in any sphere. If you really look at tech, if you really look at non-tech, if you really look at primary, if you look at the higher education, it's just mind-boggling. And the number of students that come into India from outside have also increased phenomenally in the last 1 decade or more. So I would imagine that it's an early mover advantage which UK can take, and we just now have an education mission, a delegation of 20 plus probably who are into the UK visiting different universities. We have vice chancellors, people who are running these institutions and universities present here, with a combination of some people from the industry, and seeing how we can do joint courses, how we can run joint programs, and even work towards taking advantage of the appetite that today India has. And we would need a lot in terms of because today when you go to an Indian company, they say that we are running X thousand short of people because we need people to come and work as we grow. So that's the space that I would like to add one more point, Karan, on the sphere of education. Is the business of skilling in India is very large. And if you really look at monetize it, so opportunities of skilling India, the opportunities of skilling at higher ends of high skills and future of what jobs would be and future of skills would be, is just phenomenal and mind-boggling. With the type of investments coming into India, to half the Indian population to be trained towards it, these are opportunities for UK institutions to exploit in India. Don't lose that out.
Fantastic. And I'm just going to open it up to questions. So I'll make one point and just get ready to ask them. We've got a few minutes left. So when Chancellor of Birmingham, we set up a joint master's degree with IIT Madras. 1.5 years. You spend time in Birmingham, time in Madras, and you come out with a degree from both institutions. This is the future. Qualifications. A 1-year CII MBA was not recognized in India. Now it's going to be recognized as mutual recognition qualifications. Foreign universities were not allowed to open up in India. Now they are. Southampton's opening up, Liverpool's opening up, and. This is fantastic. We're going places. Now, who would like to ask a question? You can ask about anything to do with UK and India. And just give us your name and where you're from. So the lady there, please.
I'm Indira. What are your thoughts on Indian space or industry setting up their offices in the UK? You were mentioning about educational institutions from UK going to India. What are your thoughts on the other way around?
The other one. There is, by the way, there's a Grant Thornton tracker report that every year measures Indian companies' investments over here, how many people they employ, how much they invest, and the other way around. And Phoebe's just given you the statistics. The UK is very welcoming when it comes to setting up entrepreneurship, and there are special visas for coming in. There's a global entrepreneurship program. There are various programs that exist. So look into it. Obviously, work permits are not easy, but there is a way of setting up businesses that's there. Who's next? There was somebody, please.
This question, I'm Aniket, I'm from India, part of CII and the coach industry for partnership. So my question is in the space of UKRI, because UK has this independent funding for investment in research and innovation. And to connect the last station where the investment in R&D is one of the key focus.
Yeah.
Is there effort between in this entire space of FTA, can you look at investment in R&D as a part of this?
So, the private sector investments into R&D in India can be enhanced manifold. It's really low, and the enablers to it would be more of collaborations between academia and industry. And how do we sort of deepen that? How does again the policy ecosystem can enable more such to happen? The collaborations between academia are going to be important. So it's an academia, industry, academia, I mean both the academic worlds working with each other. Now that's the reason why this particular delegation is in the country here now, right now, to figure out how those connects could be done. Even government policies in India today are enabling such Indian industries working with Indian academia and even global academia. So, and there are many which are. I took the example of OIF, which was good experience. So it's just a continuing experience, and we will see many more such happening. And I think that's the way to go. And on that education front, one of the things that Indian industry are looking at is even just not higher education, but skilling, because Indian investments are being spread across the UK, not just concentrated in a particular area. And there we see be able to get engage with local population and to do trainings which are required for that particular sector by certain Indian companies have really begun and started off very well. We are seeing how we institutionalize it to see more and more of our companies, Indian companies, being able to train or upskill the local population.
And we underinvest in R&D here. We do 1.7% of GDP, which is far too low. America, for example, is 3.2%. So we need to increase that. And one good news from this government is they're committed to increasing investment in R&D and innovation by £86 billion, which is fantastic news in the years ahead. Please.
I mean, we talked earlier about the talent in India and the engineers and the computer scientists, and many of them are CEOs of big tech companies. Now, if you go to on the West Coast, there are 7 companies that are each worth more than $1 trillion. And why does India, or how do we make India and the UK collaborate more around this sort of research and innovation? We've talked a lot about manufacturing, but if you want to be the number 1, number 2 country in the world, you're going to have to go on around innovation.
Okay, one of the things that we really need to do, as I mentioned about the investment into R&D by Indian corporations, and when we really look at tech companies in India, today the Indian startup and ecosystem, we've heard about it in the earlier sessions, is very strong. And I think, again, the availability of finance is also been lot improved, a long way to go. But then I think we really look at risk capital becoming much more available. Third, if we really look at how Indian industry can collaborate or invest, or rather bring in some of our talents, which are, you mentioned, West Coast as well as here, it's going to be very, very critical. So we are looking at future. See, when we are developing drones in our country, robotics in our country, robotic surgeries in our country, and to see how even these are where we can get more investments into artificial intelligence by Indian companies and by foreign companies. I think those are the type of collaborations that we are today. We see a lot more Indian from the West Coast coming into India with health tech and edu tech and even tech for our technology, advanced technology company. Now, with UK, like what we have done with USA, for instance, we see collaborative frameworks being built, which would engage in future technologies and investment into each other's countries. Especially, there's so much of opportunity of Indian companies to grow, and in a disturbed world where we are not quite many countries are not quite dependable on the type of the trust factor where much of technologies can come in for future growth is going to be very, very critical, and that's a big focus area for ours. Karan?
That we're out of time, so I'm going to save some concluding remarks. Is there anything I'm sorry, the clock is ticking, so is there anything you'd like? I'd just like to make one concluding.
Go ahead, Karan. Yeah, you've got 43 seconds.
Okay. So, first and foremost, CB, thank you very much. We could carry on this discussion much, much longer. I just want to say this, that just based on that last question, without exaggeration, the brightest people in the world are Indians. Fact. And that manifests itself with the 30 million diaspora around the world, of which I'm proud to be a member, and it manifests itself in India and CB and the amazing leaders that he deals with every single day. We've got to make sure that this country and India work closer and closer to your point. And the mindset of India as an outsourcing destination is over. It's a partnering. And it's a partnering in research and putting the best brains in the world together. And I want to close on this point. That I was in Argentina, I was telling Steve, I was in Argentina 5 days just now, and on the plane over, you have Wi-Fi on planes now, and I got news of the tragic plane crash in Ahmedabad. And my family, by the way, I'm a Parsi, my father's family, many of them families still live in Ahmedabad now. And as soon as I landed, I had to do interviews on radio and television on this tragic situation. And when crises happen, they happen out of the blue. You don't predict crises, whether it's 9/11, whether it's a global financial crisis, whether it's the global pandemic, whether it's October the 7th. You don't predict these things, whether it's a horrible plane crash. It's what you do afterwards that matters. And I said, if there is any good news, you can't use the word good news in a tragedy, is that Air India is owned by Tatas. And I said that what happened with the Taj hotels in November, the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay, 26th of November 2008, and that tragedy there, I will never forget, and you saw it firsthand, how Ratan Tata himself dealt with every single person affected, and how to this day the victims' families are being educated and looked after. And I said, that is what's going to happen. With this tragic situation already, victims, the hospital, the Tatas are there, and those principles are there. So the UK and India, I conclude with this, UK, less than 1% of the world's population, 70 million people just about, 1.4 billion, largest in the world. How can we partner? 6th largest economy, 4th largest economy. And I tell you how, through the power that both countries have in hard power and soft power. We both have the strongest combinations of hard and soft power. India's amazing base, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in tech, whether it's in the emerging universities, Bollywood and all the cricket and all the soft power that India has. And this country, we're still the 11th largest manufacturer, number 2 financial services in the world when it comes to the hard power. Defense forces are small but really, really good. So when it comes to hard power, we've got a lot over here still, but it's the soft power that's the most powerful. Universities, including this one, we have 4 out of the top 10 universities in the world are British universities. Not bad. 5 are American, 1 is Swiss. Our population is 70 million, America is 350 million. We do pretty well. Yeah? Creative industries, professional services, accountants, films, you name it, lawyers, we have the best in the world over here. The royal family, respected around the world. When the Queen died, the whole world mourned for her, not just this country. The BBC, maybe criticized a lot, 500,000 people watch and listen to the BBC every single week. And as for Premier League football, hundreds of millions of followers around the world. So when you have that combination of hard and soft power in a tiny country, and when you have that combination in a giant country, and you put that together, it is an unbeatable combination. So thank you, Oxford, for laying the science.